Future State Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, Margaret Bennett with Margaret Savage on the art. And for the second time this week, I looked at a couple of pages and said, nope, it's not happening. So
to be honest, I thought you decided that after the last issue.
Yeah, me too.
I intended on reading it. I really did. And I looked at the 2-page layout where there was just tons of narration boxes in the second page. And I'm just like, you know what? I saw it because I got it and I skimmed through it after. I basically said, I don't want to read this. And I skimmed through it just to see. And I saw the last page and I'm like, whatever. I'm good.
So I'm not going to disagree with you because I came into the first issue and I wanted to be more, and then deciding what it became. It is kind of a nice story for Kara.
Oh, Mike, warning.
Yeah, no, it is a very nice story for Kara, and it's not her final story, despite what the ending is, but it's part of her legacy, essentially.
The route that they chose to go to make it like this weird fairy tale it lost me again throughout. Like, I knew exactly what it was this time, but still was the whole shape changers and the bloodline and this, and like adding this whole different like aspect to it.
It was too much. I didn't read this issue, but I think I felt this in the first issue, is that if you're going to just do a 2-issue story, maybe don't introduce like a villain in mythology that takes so much time to and exposition to explain all of it. Like, do something simpler, but have the same point of the story be there, but have the villains be a bit simpler, so you don't have to waste so much time in exposition.
Super into these other characters though, like these villains were.
It got to a point, and the art's great too, but just like at the end, there's 3 of them, right? And then she wraps them up and takes full power, and I just got lost in the art at points, just because there's so much going on though. And like Pete said, like, we joke, I hate to agree with Connor, but sometimes I hate to agree with Pete, that it is too much for 2 issues. Like,
if anything was going to be 4 issues. People in general.
Well,
used to agreeing with people.
But like this would have benefited maybe another issue or 2, and you could have decompressed some of the mythology stuff, because again, it almost has a dreamlike thing to it at the same time.
Yeah, it's very fairy tale.
Yeah, so I'm just like, almost so like, how Pan's Labyrinth plays out as its own fairy tale from Guillermo del Toro, but it, it's 2.5 hours to do that. This definitely feels like him trying to do that in 45 minutes. And you just get way too lost.
I did not feel lost at all reading this. This was very engrossing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is, a lot of that is the art and the way that, he mentioned that double page spread at the start with a lot of narration boxes. It is a lot of narration boxes, but it's also a lot of panels that it's split over. It's over like 8 panels, the way it's cut up. So it feels like there's a pace to it where I'm reading the boxes, I'm seeing the art, and I'm moving on to the next thing. It's not over one. If all those things were over one splash, that would be very different. I would say, it vastly outweighs what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
because I'm constantly going back to look at art.
Add on to the fact that I also don't like this art. Right? Add on that to all these boxes, and add on the fairy tale like mythology. All of that combined means that this issue is just so not for me that I took one look at that page and went, I am not reading this. I have no interest in reading any more of this.
It's really interesting, because what it comes down to is these villains are characters' aunt, I think it was.
Yeah.
Linara, is that their name? I'm kind of forgetting the names. Linari, okay. That was pretty close. So it's their aunt. And it's like, okay, there's this family power struggle. We had last issue about there's this gem that one person on the planet gets, and makes them like extra powerful compared to everyone else. And it is still down to this, this big dynastic claim. Basically, it's these ruling families warring over the title, essentially. And it comes down to Linari being like, no, we need to learn to do without that and move on as a society, and kind of takes all their powers and burns through them with the gem, and destroys the gem in the process, and cleanses them all of their powers, because she borrows, Superwoman's powers as they do this. As to charge himself up as well, and and this idea then, okay, forcing them to be better by sending them backwards a little bit, not like not like technologically, but more just societally, kind of knocking them down a couple of pegs, so they have to understand what it's like to be the common people, and learn from Kara, how to be better from this here, and that's kind of that's where it goes here. It's them living in this community on the moon.
Yeah, well, and I like how the spot that it ends up with, where Kara went to the moon to start fresh, and she has this colony there, and now with the help from what's her name, the girl that came to see him, that they're going after. Shit, I can't remember her name. Oh, it is Lainari.
Yeah,
that's her. So, just I like all that and what they do for her memory. That she is. This is her. What defines her is what she does here, which is just nice, and how she's different than Superman and stuff. I just like the whole thing of why they're trying to get the gem, and that the villains hold her responsible for the brother's murder, even though they were trying to murder the brother to get the. Well, you're weaving too many nets here.
Well, this is where, like, if you look at it through the lens of dynastic power struggles, all within kind of one big extended family, really. This comes back to
right, but like
Euro history, for example, where it's all this just like really messy stuff and blaming each other for stuff, and it's like,
right,
there's a lot of stretching of the truth here.
So could you do that in 2 issues of a comic book?
I think they did do it in 2 issues of a comic book.
I'd say I didn't get that. I got so tripped up on all that. I'm like, this is their thing, is like they were gonna kill that dude anyway, so the dude killed himself to pass on the gem, so they couldn't have it, and now you're calling her a murderer, even though she had nothing to do with it.
And I think the reality is they don't believe she's a murderer.
No, but they're trying to tell Kara that. Yeah, Kara knows.
No, exactly. It's them pushing an agenda. It's propaganda essentially, by going, oh look, they're a murderer. You don't want to be defending them. When they know
but that could have been introduced in the last issue, where they go, you turn her over, she's a murderer, right? Here they throw it in. It's
relatively early in the issue though, so it doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere for me. Still, it feels like this is just what it came down to for me. But
I remember reading this one and I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't that big on the first issue. What did I think was going to happen in this one? The art's pretty though.
I thought you liked the first issue more than this, to be honest, than what you're saying.
No, it was. I'm looking at it through the shades of reading this one now and seeing where it goes. You know what I mean? Like it was fine. I definitely like the first issue more than I like this one. I do like where it ends. A lot of the stuff in this one issue, it's a lot, and it's cool that they try to do a fairy tale story with Superwoman that kind of defines her, but it kind of misses just a little bit, and it is space fantasy, right? Because you are dealing with fantasy tropes through alien species and whatnot. So but the art with the pastels, like you get towards the end of the book where the colors start popping because you start going into the future and how they rebuild the moon colony, and just there's all these flowers and all the colors start to pop, and you see Lainari as she starts to grow older, and she's that bluish silver, and she contrasts with Kara, right?
Yeah,
more
and obviously
colored.
This is going through the remainder of Kara's life, and what's obviously really nice here is I think this works if you want this to be Kara's definitive future. You can, because none of this stops her having other stories. This is Kara's home, basically, is the moon base, and this society, this what was a fortress of solitude isn't that anymore. It's this thriving society. This has become Kara's metropolis in a lot of ways. But none of that stops her going off and having adventures on Earth or elsewhere in space. That in between, this is just, this is like having Clark at the Daily Planet, right? It changes nothing. It's fine. We can still have this be the rest of her life. She could die here and be buried here, and still have as many Kara books as you want in the future that go wherever you want.
But yeah. So, I'm gonna rate. I'm just gonna give this a 6.5. Mostly on the strength of the art there, because it does pick up towards the end. Like all those colors pop. Like Savage is real. Like I don't know how they got the colors to look so watercolory digitally, but they did a good job.
Yeah. I love there's the moment where Kara kind of gives into rage and comes like floating up, the cape flowing, the skirt, and it's gorgeous, and kind of having to be talked down out of that. So I'm giving 8.5. I thought this was great.
No accounting for taste.